During this tutorial, we will cover the general aspects of using Phon. So what we'll do is begin with the website and see what it offers in terms of resources and information, and then we'll turn to setting up a Phon project. So the website is here at www.phon.ca, and from the website you can download either the latest stable version of Phon or the latest development of Phon. And so the way these two streams work is that if you download the stable version of Phon, then that stable version will automatically notify you when there's a new update. And same if you're updating, if you're installing the beta version of Phon, the development version of Phon, that's usually useful to access and test the new features of Phon, but that may still contain some minor bugs that we're in the process of eliminating. So and if you download the beta version, then that beta version will update with the next beta, so that in that stream you are gaining access to always the latest developments in Phon. So once you download Phon, and the web browser should detect what system you have, so using these buttons you should be able to download Phon in all available for all available platforms. So turning to the website itself, it contains a bunch of resources, with general information on the main page and information, for example, about how to cite Phon, and acknowledgments to all these amazing people that have been helping us developing Phon over the years. And in addition to that, the website has a user manual built in, and so you can use the website as your user manual. And this has been the way we proceeded with the user manual since Phon 3. And the best way to use it is typically to look for a key concept. For example, here, if I want to look for regular expressions, and then the search engine will give me access to the portions of the manual that have this key search in it. Or if I want to look for phonics, which is also an important concept in Phon, it's a query language, so we can access the articles that pertain to that. Or we can go with browsing, starting with the top menu here. So if you want to browse, for example, looking at information about IP transcriptions, the phonics language, or how to perform some queries and so on. So we've tried to make the website as useful and accessible as possible. And this is and the website gets updated every time we update our documentation for Phon. Moving to Phon itself, so this is the general interface of Phon. When you load Phon, here you have there's a bit of a setup there. So I've already built in our workspace a few projects, and I'm just about to explain how these setups are working. But the general interface always gives you access to what we call the Phon workspace, which is the folder in which your Phon projects are located. And the Phon workspace has there can be multiple Phon workspaces for users depending on how many projects you are involved with in order to keep things organized. But you can think of the Phon workspace as the top organizing folder for your Phon data. On the left-hand side, we have a quick access button for creating projects, for browsing for projects that would not be, for example, within the active Phon workspace, or to access the general preferences of the application. So let's go have a look here. And so the general preferences have in the general panel there is a very basic set of information. Perhaps the most important parts are first the session editor, I'll get back to it, the media folder, and also a few more types of parameters that you can set to make the application more comfortable for your needs. If we focus on this session editor, Phon contains a bunch of languages that offer dictionaries of IP forms. So if you are working in a language that is supported by Phon, then it's best advised to turn to set your preferences to this language. And same for syllabification. So we have syllabifiers for different languages, and we have different versions of syllabifiers that apply to different theories of syllable structure description. So in this case as well, you may want to set your preference, and the general preference we have for Phon bank projects follows what we call the simple syllabification, whereby syllables are divided in onsets, nuclei, and codas. But if you are working within frameworks that require more articulated models of syllabification, then Phon also offers alternatives for that. And if you are working on a new language that is not supported yet in Phon, we're always happy to work with you to develop these resources with you. So a quick story about the dictionary languages here. Everything we have comes from resources that have been made available to us by other researchers. For example, researchers developing electronic pronouncing dictionaries for given languages. And we've also built a transliteration system for languages such as Ewe or Arabic that have a relatively straightforward mapping between orthographic characters and IP forms. And those dictionaries can be developed just in relationship with us, in that we don't need to have access to an external resource. We can invent those, we can create those resources for your needs. If I move to the media folder preferences, so the media folder preferences is about setting general preferences for where Phon may be able to find media files that you would open and process using Phon session transcripts. So here I have two default folders on my computer. One is in the Phon, what I call the Phon media folder within my documents, and I also have one on my desktop, which is always useful when someone will share, let's say, one file with me that I need to open, and given what we're about to learn on setting up a session, then it's useful to have that major repository there, or that general repository. But for dedicated projects, so if you're conducting any kind of sizable research project, best is to not use those general preferences and instead set your media folders relative to the projects itself, which will be a topic we'll engage with in a few minutes. And finally, you get a few more preferences on how to manage query and query history, and also to set up the fonts within Phon, which is very useful if you're going to work for a long time on IP transcriptions every day. One of the good ideas there may be to make the IPA tier fonts bigger and bolder than what they come with in the default settings, just as a way to make your work environment more convivial. So, going back to the welcome window here, we have our workspace folder, and as I mentioned earlier, we can have different workspace folders for different projects we're managing. Here you can see I have a few. Most people won't have that many, and within every workspace folder we have a given project. And here what I've done is I've made up two projects, general projects, that I named in a very, very generic way, to show you in a few minutes how we would organize a cross-sectional study and how we would organize a longitudinal study. And part of this organization is about understanding how we can relate the structure of those workspaces with the files that are located on your computer. So here's a window where you can see this is my computer hard drive, so I'll move this window aside for a second. And so in the Phon tutorials, you will see that I've organized, for the Phon tutorials, I've organized two main folders, one for the media files and one for my Phon files themselves. We can integrate these folders within one. There's an option for that, but in the context of this tutorial, we suggest that the best practice there is to really separate your Phon workspace from your media folder, for the reason that the Phon workspace will contain files that are nimble in that they're easily updated, they need to be backed up very often, whereas your media folder can be at times relatively heavy with media files, and also sometimes located on an external hard drive or on a cloud system, which in which your Phon workspace should ideally not be located for easy access and such. So for example, I'm aware of many people that have a hard drive, external hard drive, at work and at home, so that they can do their work on Phon in two locations, and but not have to carry those heavy files with them all the time, and that those files take a lot of space on the computer hard drive. So it's always well advised to keep media files outside of your main Phon files, which are themselves organized in your Phon workspace. So as I mentioned earlier, we have our Phon workspace here, which and here you can see the relationship between the structure of the welcome window and the structure on your computer hard drive, where your Phon workspace is the top organizing folder. And here in this particular workspace we have two studies. We have the cross-sectional study and the longitudinal study. And so if we look at the file organization here, the cross-sectional study has data for group 1, for group 2, and I just added a third group there called group X. And the longitudinal study is the tracking of two learners. Here is Katocha, a learner of Dutch from the Dutch CLPF corpus, and here's Wiglaf, a German learner from the German Grimm corpus. Sorry about my hesitation there. And so if you follow the organization here from the Phon workspace, our top organizing folder, into their second project here, longitudinal study, into the second participant, then you can see that Phon, when you open one of these studies, will open up a project manager that will give you the exact same setting, whereby you have on the left hand side the corpus level information. So here we have two corpora of child language, well, documenting a child each, so Katocha and Wiglaf, and for each corpus we have a set of files, and these are the session transcripts that we will open and work with.